Welcome to You Can Call Me Goddess, because you're so much more than a queen. My name is Manouk Vink. I am a trained intuitive energy healer specialized in transforming your body and your life. In this podcast, we are going to be diving into everything to unlock the goddess that you are within you. Think of it as the ultimate glow up from the inside out. It's time to unlock your power. It's time to unlock your magic. So sit back and enjoy the show. Hi guys, welcome back to another You Can Call Me Goddess podcast. And I'm actually really excited to get into today's topic. And I am so excited to be sharing this information with you today because this is going to unlock whole new levels of yourself. You're going to hopefully feel extremely empowered after this podcast, and if not, then I'm definitely doing something wrong. But this is a topic that probably a lot of us struggle with, especially nowadays with everything going on. And I know in the last week's podcast, I wanted to shed light on how a lot of the things in society are setting you up to actually fail. And that is because of this war that we kind of have with the dark and the light energies on this planet, in this realm. And one of those things is also has to do with aging and the body. And I have spoken about the body in previous podcasts, so I recommend that if you have not listened to those yet, go and check them out. You will have a deeper understanding on how all of this works and why it is important to have an understanding of the body. But we are going to dive into it today again, and I want to focus a little bit more on the idea of aging and this idea that we are running out of time, because I want to let you know that you are in fact not actually running out of time as much as you may be thinking. And taking into consideration what we discussed in the last podcast, a lot of society and things have been built and designed in order to profit off of your lack of power, actually, and your lack of being able to connect with your own body and actually see what is truly going on. And we're going to start changing that, because you are so much more powerful than you actually realize. And listening to this and stumbling upon this podcast and listening to these podcast episodes should show you how innately powerful you actually are, and how you've been duped and tricked into believing that that's not the case. And one of these beautiful tactics that has been used is to tell us that we're running out of time, that time is moving faster, especially as women. I know this from experience, being in my 30s now. There is this pressure to create a family and to be successful and have it all figured out by the age of 30. And what this pressure kind of does, it actually has a very negative effect on our creator field. And if you've listened to previous podcasts, the creator field is actually what dictates all matter, circumstance, and situation around us. Our thoughts and our emotions have an incredible effect on our creator field, and this is actually what is creating our reality. And I want you to understand that you are literally creating everything around you, but it is very difficult sometimes to shift the things that you're creating when you're constantly being affected by contagion thoughts and belief systems. And one of these big contagion thoughts and belief systems is this idea of how rapidly we are aging. And what this kind of does, it puts a timer on how much time we have left to create. And if you then go back to how this benefits, the powers that be, it benefits them, because if we're feeling under pressure and if we're feeling like we're running out of time, we hit a certain age and we kind of go, you know what, it's too late. I can't do this anymore. I can't be successful anymore. Maybe it's not in the cards for me to have children. Maybe it's not in the cards for me to be successful, to build a business, to do X, Y, and Z. So then we kind of give up. We again give up our power instead of realizing that in fact, this is not reality. And in a podcast, I did talk about how aging actually works. And we're going to touch upon the basics today again, just so that you have a refresher and understand that aging is actually not going as rapidly as you believe that it is. Because here's the deal. Hopefully by now you have a little bit of a grasp of how reflections work and how body reflections work. So reflections are basically dictated by our creator field. So reflections show us where our imbalances lie. And your body is one of the biggest teachers when it comes to this, because your body is something that we cannot escape. So if you're in a relationship and your partner is being a dick to you, or if you stumble on the street and maybe trip and fall, this is something that we can brush off and we can keep moving. Maybe relationships are sometimes a little bit more difficult, but honestly, I know for a fact that we go, I can't deal with this right now. I don't feel like dealing with this right now. I'll deal with it later. That type of a thing, right? But when you think of the body is in our face, right? It's also our face. So our body is something that we cannot, well, you can, but let's just not do that. You cannot leave, right? Your body's there. You are in the physical form. And again, this is something that a lot of spiritual teachers may have gotten wrong, or teachings have gotten wrong, is that we need the physical and the energetic to work together to get the results that we desire in anything, to create the life that we desire. We cannot do it without physical action because we are in the physical realm. We are in this physical world. We have a physical body. And so we need to work with the body. So the body is one of our best guides, our best teachers. It tells us, and it's incredible when you start uncovering how precise the body is at explaining when there is an imbalance. It is absolutely mind-blowing and sometimes kind of funny at how accurate it can be. And we often see this where people are struggling with things in life and it starts showing up in the body. I've been seeing lots of these videos of fitness professionals who share their story of how they were bloating and gaining weight, and they were struggling because they were having a lot of breakouts and all of this stuff. And what this was telling them was that there was an emotional imbalance. However, even though they healed or they started shifting through the things that were holding them back and probably getting back into an emotional state of love, because that's what it is. When you fall out of the emotional state of love, which means you settle, you're not happy with who you are, you start settling for less and kind of giving up when it comes to self-love, self-image, not seeing your potentials, not seeing your capabilities. That's when your body wants you to get back in alignment. Because what your body wants you to do, your body wants you to follow your soul path, soul pull. And I am going to dive a little bit deeper into soul path, soul pull in one of the next podcast, because I think it's important to have a deeper understanding of this. But basically, your soul path, soul pull is what you're built here to do. So that's the path that you're meant to be walking. And the more aligned you are with your soul path, soul pull, the more things start to fall into place. Life becomes easier. Success becomes easier. This is because it's what you're meant to be doing. And your body is constantly guiding you back onto that path. So every time you deviate from that path, your body's going to signal to you that something is out of balance. So you're not seeing your worth, you're not seeing your potential, you're in a lack mindset, you're in an insecurity mindset, and then obviously whatever's happening in the body, it gets extremely specific. So whether that be bloating, that could be that you're feeling stuck on something in the past, then looking at when that bloating comes up, for example, after you've nourished yourself, that could be that you're not allowing yourself to fully absorb nourishment because you are stuck on something in the past. So somewhere in the past, you may have been told that it's not okay for you to feel nourished. And so then the bloating shows up. Or if, for example, right before you go and lay down and rest, you get that bloating, you're not allowed to rest and recover because it's triggering something in the past, something along those lines. And I may have called someone out on the podcast because that's how intuition works. I'm sorry if I called you out and you're listening to this. But this is something, for example, that the body gets extremely specific. So, for example, you could get a scratch on your ear, and where that scratch is and how it's positioned and how you got the scratch in the first place and what side of your face that scratch was on. So if it was the left or the right ear, it is telling you specifically where you are falling out of balance and what it's trying to communicate to you. And it gets very, very specific. And that's why I teach this inside the Your Body's Magic program. I show you how you can start decoding the body. And obviously, then also if you start developing your intuition, which we do as well, that's when you get even more specific on each body reflection. And the cool thing with that is that your body is literally giving you the blueprint and the guidance to step onto your soul path, soul pull. So obviously the powers at B, is that even how you say that? The powers at the top, the people that are trying to profit off of your insecurities, they don't want you to know this, right? They don't want you to connect with your body and be able to decode your body, because if you were able to do that, that would mean that we would all understand our bodies. We wouldn't invest in things like plastic surgeries. We wouldn't buy into things like quick fixes. We wouldn't buy into, let's even talk about like IVF. We wouldn't need to go to fertility clinics, because we would understand, and I'm going to dive a little bit into that today as well, because we would understand what our body's communicating and we would have the tools to shift it, and therefore we wouldn't need to do any of that. Does that mean, really quick side note, that we never need Western medicine? Of course not. There is a time and the place for that, because it's also, there was a purpose that this was designed. So for example, if you've lost a limb, then yes, maybe you should probably go to a hospital and get that fixed, right? Or like get professional help in that regard. There is a place and a time for this, but maybe not as often and as regularly as you might think. And when you start understanding what the body's communicating, we can shift certain things energetically, even to the point that you have like energetic surgery to get you the results that you desire, to get you to shift in the way that you want. And that's one of those things that, healings play a role in. The healings that we provide, the healings that you can learn to do yourself. These are things that we are all capable of doing. And that's freaking cool, because that means we are so much more powerful. Like, honestly, like, think of superheroes that you could think of. We have certain aspects of that. These things were not made up. These are things that you have the capability to create and to shift your creator field to create something new. And because your creator field is so incredibly powerful, it creates certain situations, circumstances, but it also guides and instructs instructs the cells of your body to do certain things for you to get that message, because that's how powerful your subconscious mind is, and that's how powerful your creator field is. And when you start hacking your creator field and you can start shifting that, you can start shifting your body, and you can start shifting your reality. And part of being able to hack the creator field is either learning intuition or having a combination of intuition, that's actually the best, and being able to decode and decipher the body and have a deeper understanding of that, because then you can get an idea of what your creator field is creating and why, right? Because that is what we want to do. Your body is explaining to you exactly what it is that you need to shift to start unlocking new levels in your life, to start unlocking the power that you hold, because you hold it. So every time you think your body is working against you, in reality, your body is 1,101 million% working for you. I literally went all over the place with those numbers. It doesn't matter, but your body is constantly working for you. Your body wants you to succeed. So that's why when you're struggling or you're going through a rough time, you may feel like your body is adding on top of that, when in reality, your body is trying to communicate to you that you need to shift something, and it's giving you the literal instructions of what you need to shift to get out of whatever rut you're feeling you're in, and to get you back in alignment, get you back on the train that you were meant to be on, and stop you from hopping off constantly. Because the more you hop off the train that you're meant to be on, the longer the detour takes, and maybe at some point you're gonna miss the station that you want to be at. And a lot of the time we can still shift and get you back on the station, but the more you ignore the body, the more you ignore the signals that are being signaled to you to get you back in alignment, to get you on your soul path, soul pull, the more difficult it will be to get you the life that you desire. And so my main message with this is, do not ignore the body. The body is trying to get you back on your soul path, soul pull. It's trying to get you back in alignment to achieving the results that you desire. And us as humans, we are, especially the ego, likes to deflect from the real problem. We're very good at ignoring stuff. We are very good at settling for less and just being like, you know what, I'll get to that later. It's not that bad. It's not all of these excuses to not look at where we want to go. And it's difficult to bypass the ego. But when we then can connect with the subconscious and actually get the truth of what is going on, a lot of the time it's those things that we need to bypass. We need to bypass the ego to get to the core of what the issue is and to shift that, because that is probably what is holding you back. The thing that you don't want to look at is the thing that is probably holding you back. And that's why it's so powerful, because your body helps you figure out what is going on in the subconscious, because the ego will try and stop you from getting there because it likes to stay safe in what it knows. So with that little side note, I was going to talk about, I promised you that I was going to talk a little bit about the whole idea of aging, right? So this idea or this belief that we are aging so as rapidly as we're being told, first of all, you can already see that nowadays we do stay younger for longer. But another thing is that actually, because if you really think about it, this is something that my mom said to me, and I was like, oh my God, that is so right. And it really made something click in my brain. She's like, you have to die of something, right? And I was like, that's so true. We don't just die. You die of a heart attack. You die of cancer. You die of something. Suffocation. Sorry, this is so morbid. But anyways, you die of something. You don't just, like, something has to stop. Your life force has to stop working for you to die. Which means, follow me here, listen to me here. This is mind-blowing, and I'll be working on how to get this to work in the best way possible, because this is something that I find incredibly cool, which means that if we can hack decoding the body at such a level that we can figure out everything that the body's communicating, we can learn the lessons and shift our body and literally do energetic surgery by shifting our creator field and getting it to stay younger for longer, because ailments and illnesses are all reflections of the body. They're all ways in which your body's communicating an emotional imbalance, right? That you're, for example, if you have a tumor, is it a tumor or stroke? That means that you're giving up on life somewhere. Or if you, with cancer, it's like unprocessed, unresolved anger. If we can bypass these things and we can actually see what our body's communicating, shift through that and reprogram the creator field, then that means we should be able to live a lot longer than we are living right now. But what we have been told is that it is what it is, kind of a thing. And then on top of that, we have been told that we are aging a lot more rapidly than we actually are. To be more precise, 95% of our aging symptoms are reflective. So we're actually only aging 5% of our aging symptoms, right? So the other 95% are compounding reflections. So let me break this down a little bit. If you haven't listened to the other podcast on the Fountain of Youth, but basically what that means is if you look at reflections in the body, let's look at joints, for example. We have been told that the older you get, and look at kids, right? Because they're extremely flexible. And they can move their bodies and then as you age, you can't move your body in those ways anymore. Which I'm trying to work through right now. I'm like playing around with becoming more flexible and working on the reflection there as well. And I'll keep you updated on how that goes. But it's super cool, right? Because this is all your body communicating to you. So your joints have to do with flexibility. So the older you get, and think about like people in your life that are aging, the older you get, the more rigid you become, right? You get stuck in your ways. You are not flexible anymore. You are not moldable anymore. You won't sway in a different, not you, but a lot of elderly people, not you, because we're going to shift this, right? We're going to get you to tap into that power and make you realize that this is what's making your joints stiff. It's not actually aging. It's a compounding of a reflection. So if your joints are stiff and you are lacking mobility there, lacking flexibility there, and it feels harder to move, the emotional root cause of that is because you're less flexible in other areas of your life. So that is starting to show up in the body. The body literally gives you this sensation and this symptom of stiffness, struggling to move, communicating to you that you can't move forward anymore. And if you are still in that place of, you know what, I don't want to deal with this, I want to be able to still move my body, stay young and fit, then the body tries to accomplish that by getting you to feel frustrated with the fact that you can't move your body so much, so that you start moving your body, training and doing things. I have to think of my grandma, for example. Not that she really fully realizes what's going on here, but she now goes to physiotherapy to move her body. And then obviously you want that driving force to still want to live, to still want to move, to still want to grow. And part of the reasons that we age more rapidly is because we tell ourselves that we can't learn anything new. So basically, we tell ourselves that we are deteriorating and that there is nothing left for us. There's nothing left for us to accomplish. There's nothing left for us to do. So if you can disprove that to yourself by learning something new, for example, physically doing something new with the body, you will stay younger and fitter for longer. So I hope that I didn't go too off track here, but what I'm trying to communicate here, the idea is that the body gets you to feel like, hey, I don't want to settle for this. I want to be able to move in the way that I want to be able to move, so that you find yourself in a position where you're like, you know what, I'm actually going to go to the gym and better my life and get stronger and stay fitter and younger for longer. And that's how the body accomplishes you still feeling like you can move forward, because what that proves to you is that you can still move forward, you can still learn something new, you can still get stronger, and therefore it debunks this belief that you can't move forward anymore, that there is nothing new for you anymore. So what aging actually is the compounding of these reflections. So the joints getting stiff, if you don't address it the moment it starts happening and start connecting and being like, oh, I'm inflexible somewhere. Where am I feeling inflexible? How can I be more flexible there? If you don't address it, it starts compounding and you become more rigid and you have more joint issues and problems with moving that can then lead into maybe arthritis and other functional issues with the body, right? And then on top of that, I'll give you another example. I'm sure you've seen, this is one that's been coming to mind a lot. It's like there's two things. For example, lower back pain. Lower back pain is the emotional root cause of lower back pain is financial stress, financial burden. Like you have to carry it all on your own and stress about it. Doesn't mean that you lack wealth or finances. It's more that you feel like you have a lack mindset, or you're stressed about it, or you feel like there's never enough, or you feel like you're just making ends meet. Doesn't matter. You can be wealthy and have lower back pain because you could still have stress about money, or you could be struggling with money and have lower back pain. And so again, what this ends up doing, if we don't address this at a specific age, what starts happening, this issue starts compounding over years and years and years. And that gets people to kind of walk with this back bend and struggle with back problems and not be able to move as much as they would be able to move. And it all tells a story, because the lower back pain, the financial stress, stops you from moving forward in life, stops you from growing and evolving in life. So it's all a beautiful story. And when you start to understand how this works and how the body tells a specific story of what is going on and why it's happening, and when you can decode and shift that, you can decrease the rate at which you are aging. But even more important, I don't know if it's more important actually, because if you want to live a longer, healthier life, that's pretty important to me. But, and to you, I'm guessing too, but on top of that, you also shift those belief systems, and therefore you probably tap into more wealth and also keep moving forward and see more opportunities in your life. So all these aging symptoms, same with the eyes. The eyes tell you a story about not being able to see the future, depending on if you're short-sighted or far-sighted. It tells a specific story about what you're worrying about. And then obviously the $1 million ones that we all want to know about, because, you know, we're goddesses and we love beauty tips and beauty stuff. Even when it comes to wrinkles on the face are all reflections. It is losing elasticity with the way that people are perceiving you. That's part of it, and how you feel like you're being perceived. So the older you get, you lose that elasticity. You lose the will to, you know, see it from a different perspective, but also it also has to do with how you feel like you're being perceived. So I had extremely aggressive forehead lines, and that was because I was worried about how people were perceiving the things that I was doing. The moment I started shifting that, because of energetic work, and because there's no, how does it work? Like there's actually no time and space. You can shift these things. And even cooler, when you start understanding how the creator field works, you've got reflections, and you've got things in your creator field that create symptoms in the body that basically instruct cells in the body to do things, and instruct all matters, circumstance, situation around you to create a situation, which I'll loop back in just a second. But when you start understanding how energy works, you can also program certain ingredients in your energetic field to create something new. Like, for example, radiant skin, right? Radiant, glowing skin. Ingredients for that. I have ingredients for that to create that, which we all dive into in the Your Body's Magic program, for example, so that you can basically plug certain codes into your creator field to create what you want. And it's very freaking cool, because the creator field dictates things in your body to show you where the imbalances are. So the things that we want to shift in our creator field to create something new, but we can also plug new things into our creator field to start generating new things, such as thicker, fuller hair, thicker lips, longer lashes, so that we can start instructing the cells to do what we want them to do. And this is super advanced understanding of how this works, but I hope this is just getting you excited to show you the potentials that you have, and to stop you from feeling like you can't do what you want to do. And what I wanted to kind of bring it back to, and then I'll tie it back in with something else, because I can hear you guys thinking, yeah, okay, but what if I go to the gym and I do a weird movement and I pull my back, right? How is that then a sign of my creator field? Well, if you remember, your creator field creates all situations, circumstance, and matter, which means your creator field made you a match to grabbing that weight, the weight being slightly too high, you not paying attention to then you pulling your back in the gym, for example, to get you to have a lower back pain or struggles in the back because of the thoughts and the beliefs that you were having. And this is how crazy the creator field works. It literally dictates everything around you. And the cool thing is that you are so powerful that you can shift this. You can shift the creator field, plug in ingredients, and create something completely new. Shift these things that are already written in your creator field to things that are actually more aligned with who you are, and get rid of those limiting beliefs and limiting thoughts so that you can stay younger, fitter, and healthier for longer. Which brings me to one of the things that I wanted to talk about, which is this question of, especially nowadays, I know the dating world seems to be rougher than usual. And obviously, this all has to do with everything that is going on in the world, because it's so great when we are all feeling unloved, undesired, not good enough. That is exactly what the people that are controlling the narrative want us to feel like. Again, question mark, why? Because that allows them to control us in a much easier way. We are a lot more moldable when we are constantly being infected by contagion thoughts, contagion belief systems, and being basically brainwashed into believing things that aren't true. That has to do with the aging component as well. Tying it back into what I was saying earlier on in the podcast. We feel like we're running out of time. When we feel like we're running out of time, we scramble. And we scramble and we put pressure on things to create the things that we desire. And then we kind of give up because it's not moving fast enough in our minds. And therefore we kind of feel like, you know what, this is, I won't be able to do this. I'm running out of time. I'm too old to be successful. I'm too old to have children. I'm too old to design the life that I desire. Isn't that just the most fantastic concoction for people trying to control the narrative and get you to fall back into line instead of getting you to step into your power and realize how freaking powerful you are, because you are. And that's what the Goddess Academy, that's what my whole mission is for you to realize that you are incredibly powerful. You are remarkable. You are strong. You are capable. You are capable of so much freaking more than you think you are. And even science knows that we barely know what the brain is capable of, let alone what we are capable of when we all fully tap into our intuitive gifts and connect with our bodies and understand how the universe actually really works. Can you imagine how scared the powers at be, is that how you say that? I swear, please let me know if I'm saying this wrong. But how scared they would be, how worrying that would be if we all fully understood what we were capable of, and that we didn't need to buy into all this anti-aging crap and all these belief systems that, we're deteriorating as of the age of 30, because that's the narrative. Around 30, it all starts to deteriorate. And by then, if you don't have it figured out, well, then you're kind of a lost cause, aren't you? That is the narrative. And that narrative is perfect for being controlled, because then we will buy into a job that is not fulfilling or fun and doesn't get us to see our potentials. Plus, it is going to keep us feeling sluggish, like we're not moving forward, and give up hope and give up belief in ourselves. And that is the perfect concoction for being controlled and to disconnect us from our power. Which brings me to fertility issues, or not only fertility issues, this stress of not being able to have children anymore. This is something that definitely has crossed my mind because, yes, the years are going by and I have knowledge of certain things when it comes to my relationship and where it's headed. And also that is a whole nother topic that we're going to discuss, that we all have, our soulmate, that we are meant to be with in this life, and then even a soul complement. But that's a whole nother story that hopefully in the future I'm going to touch upon, and how relationships are actually designed for us to grow and excel. And a lot of us leave the relationship too soon, and then we end up in a same cycle that is trying to teach us something. Because again, the universe is designed, your higher self has everything orchestrated so that you learn and grow through obstacles to get you stepping into your power. And because of how society has been designed, and how we now need to connect back with our power and our light, and realize how it actually works. Remember how everything works, especially if you're high frequency beings, because you're listening to this podcast. You are powerful. You want to know more about this. You're meant to know more about this. And when you start understanding how all of this works, you start to realize that all of this is a way to grow and step into who you are meant to be, to remember who the fuck you are and what you're here to do. And part of that also has to do with relationships and this false narrative around certain relationships and understandings on that. But that is a topic for another day. So much information, so much information. But I want to, as an intuitive coach, and as going through these things, I love to take you along with me as I discover some of these things myself. And, you hopefully can relate to the things that I'm explaining to you, so that you can start seeing this in your own life and help you step into what you are capable of and what you're capable of creating. So, little sidetrack. Sorry, we're coming back now. So with that caveat, with me knowing that, and being in my 30s, of course, the question of, children is one of those things. Aging and children, like having children as a woman, is one of those things that always comes up. Your biological clock is ticking. You need a rush, blah, 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 blah. And what does this do? Wow. Sometimes I swear my brain just goes intuition, and brain goes faster than what my mouth. So what does this do? If you really think about it, we start losing hope in being able to have children. So either we maybe rush it, right? Because we feel like we need to create something. I'm going to tie this back into soul path, soul pull in just a second. So we feel like we need to create something. We know there's this big, tie, obviously, as a woman with creating life, because that's one of our freaking superpowers, by the way. Freaking cool that we can do that. Like, obviously with the help of men, we need them, but we are the literal portal to this world, which is insane. But there's this big tie to feeling accomplished and having children, and feeling feminine and having children as a woman. First of all, let's pay attention to how they are trying to stop us from doing this as well, by making women even more in their masculine than they are in their feminine. They are distorting everything when it comes to gender roles and this and all of that, so that they can stop us from creating more life, from creating the things that, give us more power, and to be able to control us more, to brainwash us more, to disconnect us from our power. One of our biggest superpowers is also having children. Doesn't mean that all of us are meant to have children, but a big majority of women are. And so, a big chunk of us are meant to be, just had to quickly intuit that real quick, are meant to have children, right? And we tie that very much to what we are capable of and what our value is a lot of the time. It's very, very tied into that. So when we get older, and then on top of that, society, the narrative has been designed to make it harder to stay with a partner. Not only that, to work through relationship struggles. Not only that, the whole gender role situation. All of this is perfectly designed to make it harder for us to, first of all, step into our power, realize what we're what we're capable of creating, and to actually be in a successful relationship and a loving home, because we don't actually know what is going on and what the universe and how reflections work. So this is a big hack to that. Then on top of that, we are then running out of time. So we get stressed. And when we get stressed, we feel like we losing value. And when we losing value because we're getting older, we start losing hope in being able to create and have children. The energetic root cause of fertility issues is basically the feeling that you cannot create something that is worthy of living, or something that is worthy of life. Basically, feeling like you don't have the capability to create something life-changing or something valuable. And when we feel like we don't have that capability, and that's where soul path, soul pull comes in, it's directly linked to our soul path, soul pull. So if we feel like we can't create something in our soul path, soul pull, what we're meant to be doing here, that has a direct effect on our body, because our body wants to communicate to us that we feel like we lack the ability to create. And I want you to think about something, because even if you think about it, my mom, she worked in the Netherlands. We have like a midwife that comes to your home. So she's been around a lot of women with newborns, and even women struggling with IVF and all of this stuff. And there's so many stories, even personal stories that I've heard of women who try really hard with IVF. Nothing works. And then eventually they have a baby with IVF, and then the second baby comes in so quick. And why that is, if you look at the energetic root cause, is because they've proven to themselves that they can create something worthy, right, of life and something like that. So they have a baby, and then the second time around, they don't doubt themselves anymore. They don't have that subconscious programming anymore, because they proved to themselves that they can create life. So there is proof of how the energetic world works. And especially nowadays, IVF, I see so many women having children through IVF and not through the regular way anymore. And I know that is because of what we are programmed to believe, that it's hard, that we're not worthy of creating, that when you get older, and that's where the age component comes in. We have this narrative that the older that we get, the less capable we are of creating, the less valuable we are, the less worthy we are, the less of an impact we can make. So what does this do? It has a direct effect on our reproductive systems. It has a direct effect on us being able to create new life, because our body, our creator field, instructs our reproductive system with these instructions, because that is a subconscious belief that we hold. And so then we really want to prove to ourselves that we can still create something. However, a lot of the time we don't realize that what we need to do is prove to ourselves that we can create something that doesn't necessarily have to do with having a baby, but has to do with being able to create something, or being aligned with your soul path, soul pull, or being able to create something worthy when it comes to work, success, in any of the other areas of life. And we are being so basically beaten down into believing that we're not worthy, we're not capable, we're never good enough, that society makes it incredibly difficult for us to root back to that. And hopefully this podcast is going to help you realize that, because this is all about you connecting back with your power, your worthiness, and what you're capable of. And that is why self-image, self-love is at the core of all your emotional imbalances, at the core of why reflections are showing up. Because the moment you fall out of the emotional state of love, that is when a reflection in the body will start to show up. And again, it always starts energetically first, and then it moves to physical. And when you get an understanding of body reflections, you dive deeper into this with programs like Your Body is Magic, you can hack that system. You you can move through that system and you can start to understand what is going on. And even cooler, when you start learning how to do healings, or you understand how healings really work, which I will be guiding you with. I will be intuiting for you. I can help you understand these things. If you have questions about that, please reach out. You can already detect with intuition, super cool, if something is starting to go out of balance in the energetic. We can shift and heal the energetic with healings and get you in a place where it doesn't turn into a physical problem. So if you're having issues, for example, with joints, with the heart, with intestines, with reproductive organs, and we can clock that in the energetic body, that is a sign that it's going to move to physical, unless we can start to heal it in the energetic now, which is so freaking cool, because that means it doesn't need to go to the physical body, and we can catch these things before they manifest in the body. But caveat, these healings will not stick, will not work if you don't learn the lesson of what is going on and why that is happening in the body. That is why it is so important to have an understanding of what the body is communicating, because the body will keep throwing reflections and symptoms and ailments at you until you learn the lesson and you shift through it. And that is why when people get, for example, plastic surgeries and things like that, they don't actually heal the root cause of why they want to get the plastic surgeries and why they want to get the shifts. And so they keep doing things to their body and they keep feeling unhappy with how they look because they haven't shifted the emotional root cause. Same thing with diseases. If you heal a disease, but you haven't solved the root cause of something, right? Because cells do keep regenerating. The creator field will instruct the cells to create that belief again. So even though you're reproducing new cells after you've healed the disease, if you haven't learned the emotional lesson or the root cause and you haven't shifted through it, it is a lot more likely that those cells are going to come back sick again because you haven't learned the lesson, and your body wants you to learn the lesson so that you can be aligned with what you're meant to be doing in this life and to be able to create what you want in this life. And that is so freaking cool. So I hope what I want you to take away from this podcast is that your body is absolutely freaking magnificent at telling you exactly what you need to shift, and that you have all the tools. You have the capability to get the tools. And when you have the tools, let me rephrase that. When you have the tools, you have full power over shifting your body, over shifting the illnesses in your body, ailments in your body, weight gain, aging symptoms, because they're symptoms, because only 5% of how much you're aging is actually aging, and the other 95 is reflections. So when you shift through these reflections, you can basically get Botox without actually getting Botox by shifting energetically and basically reprogramming the cells to not have wrinkles. You can shift your energetic field to stay younger and fitter for longer. And like I said, you have to die of something. So the longer you can heal and shift your physical ailments and actually get to the root cause of these things, the longer you will live, the healthier you will live. There are physical actions that are tied to that to solidify these beliefs. But the energetic is so freaking powerful that when you start to shift that, you will become an energetic match to certain activities that you need to do to stay fit and healthy. And part of that reprogramming, for example, is like learning something new in the body so that you can solidify this belief that just because you're getting older doesn't mean that you can't learn new things. It doesn't mean that you can't shift through and create more, right? Because that's where all of these things, it comes from worry. It comes from lack of belief in self. It comes from this belief that you're deteriorating and that you're not worth anything after a certain age. And if we can shift all of those, you will not only look younger, feel younger, and stay younger, you will live longer, and you will create more success in your life. Same thing with fertility. Your clock isn't ticking as much as you think that it is. And even research has come out when it comes to women, our eggs stay in a very good quality for a lot longer. A lot of it actually is due to the male's sperm that needs to shift. So don't buy into the narrative that you're running out of time, because you're not running out of time. And there's another component to that. A lot of the things obviously are designed right now with a lot of toxins. We're ingesting a lot of toxins. All the radio waves that are going around, all of these things obviously have an effect on our hormones. But the biggest component is actually understanding the root cause. Because if you're not an energetic match to certain things, then you will not have the ailments showing up. You will not have the emotional imbalances, and that has the biggest effect on your body. However, for those of you that have obviously, we've all been exposed to a lot of these toxins and things like that. That is why we have these cool healings to help you heal those things. Nothing is like, most things we can heal with energy healings. And more specifically, the more research I do, the more I find out that the mitochondria is literally the powerhouse. It regenerates cells. It helps you stay healthier. A lot of the time links to the quality of your eggs, the quality of your life, and your aging symptoms and what is coming up when it comes to aging. It all comes down to the mitochondria, and the mitochondria are the powerhouse of the cells. So when these are deteriorating, when these are not functioning well, this is going to have a big effect not only on your fertility, on aging, on metabolism, on all of this stuff. And that is why healings such as the mitochondria healing are so freaking cool, which we have at the Goddess Academy, to help you boost those mitochondria, and then with action steps, make sure that you fully step into your power and reconnect with what you are capable of. And what I just want you to know, that it's never too late. You're not running out of time. These are all contagion thoughts and belief systems, and we are going to unsubscribe from them now. And then you will be unstoppable when you have the tools in your toolkit to not only protect yourself from contagion thoughts, but fully understand the body and have a deeper understanding of how all of this works. And on top of that, intuition is definitely one of those things that helps you boost your life in so many magnificent ways and gets you to weed out the bullshit from the reality, so that we can unsubscribe from all the crap that they are trying to sell us so that they can keep us small. I am done playing small. I'm done with you guys having to play small, because you're not. You're all powerful. You're all incredible. You're all meant for amazing things. And the more you start to realize that, the more you get those tools, that is where not only your life changes, but where you have an impact on so many other lives. That is where we start tapping into the world that was meant for us. And that's the bigger picture of it all. But I hope you realize that it starts with you. It starts with you realizing how amazing, how powerful, how remarkable, how gifted, how incredible you are. And the moment you start doing that, that's when you start making a change, not only in your own life, but in the whole world. So, because that impacts everybody else around you. When they see how you start to blossom, they're going to want to ask you how you did it. So, and there's so many other perks to that, by the way. So anyways, that was my rant for today. I hope you enjoyed it. And I am so glad that you sat with me through the entire episode, if you're still with me. And I can't wait to see you guys in the next episode. Thank you so much. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, evening, or afternoon. Thank you so much for listening to You Can Call Me Goddess. I am so happy that you joined us in this show today. If you feel like this podcast gave you any sort of life change or value, then share it with someone you think would also get a lot of value out of it, because maybe it could just be that one thing that changes that person's life. If you enjoyed the show, please give it a nice rating below or in the show, because we would love to expand more on topics that you enjoy and keep this podcast up and running. Anyways, thank you, beautiful, and I hope to see you in the next podcast.